Hello everybody and welcome back to the funniest tweets. Today we are reflecting on the Austrian Grand Prix, which was of course split up into two halves. You had the sprint on Saturday and then you had the full main thing on Sunday. And to be honest with you, it was quite an enjoyable experience if we ignore first place. I have to admit, I let you all down. Why did you let us all down, Matt? Well, I brought this shirt out after training for maybe a month or two on my jinx. I went away. People thought that, for example, the Canadian Grand Prix had gone away for my friend Stag Do. No, I hadn't. I'd actually gone away to one of these sort of special places so I can just really try and hone my powers into taking down the Verstappen. Wasn't ready. I tried it, did it on the watch along, failed. But your reactions were amazing, so let's dive into them right now. Track limits. As you will not be surprised, I think 75% of anything that anyone tweeted under the hashtag P1 was track limits. Now, before we dive into it, I've also got to highlight that I had a little bit of trouble getting memes for this weekend's episode because Elon Musk decided he wanted to detonate Twitter. So that's fun. It's been fun, hasn't it? If you're a regular Twitter user, you will know the struggles that we've all been suffering over the last few days. However, we have got memes, so let's dive into them. At Crystal Horner, all the drivers calling out each other's track limits. So not only did you have the problem with track limits anyway, it's Austria, the nature of short, fast, no walls, but clearly, you know, very set, strict track limits. Drivers are going to go over them. We saw it in qualifying and we saw it again in the race to an extent that I don't think any of us properly realised. Now, you know, in years gone by, the Austrian track organisers have tried to, I suppose, or FIA as well, they worked together to stop extending of track limits by having some crazy exit curves and things that were very quickly removed, but now they are just so to the point, millimetre perfect. If you're 1 millimetre over, you get a warning. And it was quite hard to keep up with. At its_Passy, the Austrian Grand Prix. Yes, penalties everywhere. Hamilton. You saw Hamilton get a black and white flag after a handful of laps. I'm pretty sure he got his penalty on like lap 17, or perhaps that was his final warning. Either or, he was just like driving around like he'd turn off the rules. He just turned off rules, track limits, all gone. Nah, mate, just drive how you like. And then that's when the dobbing, the snitching started to go on. Lando was complaining about Hamilton. Hamilton then started complaining about everybody, even though he probably definitely could not see everybody's lines. He was complaining about Perez, I think. You had everyone on the radio snitching on other drivers. It was, I don't know, it was weird. It was like playground stuff, but I kind of also slightly enjoyed it in a weird way. At Reese Graham F1 stewards at the Austrian GP today. You get a penalty, you get a penalty. What did you think about it? I felt like it was a little bit on the crazy side. I think F1 themselves had to go away and create a graphic. That graphic was no way ready to be shown on the live broadcast, but there were so many penalties that they had to make one to say like, Ocon, Gasly, blah, 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 haven't served their penalties. It was a little bit farcical, I think, in some ways, but if the drivers just stayed on the track, they wouldn't have got penalties. So there's not really much we can complain about, can we? Unless we're then going down the route of, well, you know, should we really police track limits as hard as, you know, they do? It's a difficult one to get right. At Christian _____, do I need to say more? There was some really creative ways of showing penalties. There was another one from at LM Mobek. I mean, how you lot come up with these memes? I know some of them are meme templates, but they're just brilliant. I love looking at your tweets, genuinely. Hashtag P1 if you want to get involved next time for next weekend's British Grand Prix. But yeah, top quality stuff. And it does not end there. More track limit stuff. At OliBear0212, FIA stewards be like too generous to give out black and white flags when Nico's out of the race already but gets flagged for track limits. Yeah, that was really weird. So Haas tweeted, and I think it was shown in the broadcast as well, that Hulkenberg, who was out of the race but obviously drove off the track to retire, got a black and white flag for track limits. Like, surely that must have been a mistake. There's not someone in the FIA that's gone, well, he has left the track. No, come on. You can't warn. Where else is he supposed to go? At Mr. DZC20, all the snitching from the drivers be like, it just goes on and on and on. But it was the track limits Grand Prix. And it's not really one we tend to see. We've never seen that aggressive of penalty handing out ever. I don't think. It's weird. I don't know what changed this year. Hamilton was complaining that his car wouldn't turn. We've got a meme actually coming up to talk about a particular Toto Wolff message. But yeah, it was weird. I don't know why they struggled so much this year. And finally, 2 more memes on the track limits before we move on. At CXLVin, FIA with the penalties right now. Very much was. And at Falcon Race Control. Now, I'm not going to say that they were doing a bad job, race control. It was more just the fact that there were so many investigations going on across the whole weekend, to be honest with you. F2, F3. I don't think they've even stopped now to this day, to this moment right now. Fair play, the stewards definitely earned their paycheck. So, I said that was it? No, there's 3 more. How many track limit memes are there? But they're actually amazing. OliBear0212 again, when track limits gets too much of a problem. Boom, 5-second penalty. At Casito_NL, track limits today. I fear no man, but that thing, it scares me. Great. And then this one's very good. At AnonMe24556730, the FIA. And then you got the driver's helmets as well. Amazing stuff. Now we will move on. Sensational Sainz. Right, let's talk about Carlos Sainz now, shall we? Because he was brilliant. He gave us the best action of the entire Grand Prix by far. At Formula Latest, Sainz being intimidated by Checo's attacks was the most entertaining part of the race. Yeah, I don't know where in the rulebook intimidation is illegal, but I like the way Carlos has tried something there. But the whole fight was just brilliant because we thought it was done and dusted, didn't we? Checo on pretty much brand new hards, rocking up to the back of Carlos Sainz, who wasn't on particularly old tyres, but he's in a Ferrari, and that's a Red Bull rocket ship. But the way in which he just before the DRS line manages to slow down enough so that Checo gets baited into the outside line, tries to switch back, but no. Ferrari rear wing opens, and he did it, I think, 2 or 3 laps in a row. There was a moment where they nearly collided and it could have ended in tears, but fantastic action. At Roll Road, it was so nice of Sainz to drive his tow truck today. I love that little artistry. That's what I'm going to call it, memery. Because, yeah, Carlos got through very easily on Lando, but because of how powerful this DRS is around here with the longish straights, a short track, but 3 DRS zones, Lando was able to stay with him. Now I'm just going to open up a quick conversation. We're going to talk about it more in the podcast, but I want to know from you in the comments right now. Actually, before you do that, subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. I haven't asked you in a very long time, and I know a lot of you watch this and don't subscribe, so please do subscribe. Lots of content coming your way. Anyway, the question is, was Carlos Sainz actually quicker than Charles Leclerc today? Now I know you're gonna say it. I'm a fanboy. But I'm not. I'm a Red Bull fan these days. But the DRS is very powerful. I think that they were on a level, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Carlos was as clear as a lot of people are suggesting on social media that Carlos should have been let through, because I feel as though if Charles had let him through, it would have stayed the same way where Charles stays in DRS and then they would have been moaning over the radio again. But we'll never know. At Dovahkiin2, Checo, finally time for a podium after 3 wash races. Sainz, I'm going to do what's called a pro gamer move. And it was an absolute pro gamer defensive masterclass from Sainz. It's a shame he got that 5-second penalty because he would have been right there with Leclerc. And, well, I say that, it probably would have ended in tears because I tweeted saying that I sensed a Ferrari 1-2. I'm kind of glad they were away from each other because it looked like it was going to get a little bit feisty at times, didn't it? But the Checo-Carlos fight, 10 out of 10. And finally, at GAT_R1997, Sainz right now. We let him cook. We did. He cooked up a storm. And he is doing a lot better. If you look back to the start of the season to now, he's doing a great job, and you can say he's been better than Leclerc in the last few races. 3 stops, Ferrari. Okay, now we're going to talk about a moment in the race that shouldn't have been a big thing until they said a number. Ferrari. Suggesting on lap, I want to say lap 30 or 31 of 71, that Charles Leclerc moved from what was only a 1 stop to a 3. At Jonties_corner, what do you think about 3 stops? Leclerc and Sainz? Probably. And everyone else in the world. There was 40 laps to go. I know the tyre wear was slightly higher than usual, but no, absolutely not. There was not one fibre in my being or anyone. Charles Leclerc, his reaction was like, no. It wasn't even straight up, what is that strategy suggestion? Huh? Unbelievable. At June Seps, not Ferrari considering a 3-stop strategy for Charles. Meanwhile, Max is going for a 1-stop. Of course, Max didn't actually go for a 1-stop. He went for a 3, technically, because he pitted for softs at the end. But 2 stops was definitely the way to go for everyone, pretty much. So I'm glad Charles shut them down. One more. At himself, constant. Ferrari strategist, what do you think of a 3-stop, Ferrari fans? Let me know as a Ferrari fan right now, please. How did you feel when they suggested 3 stops? Before you heard Charles say no, of course. Was it absolutely categorical fear? Because we gassed them up after Canada, then I sort of rescinded my gassing up of Ferrari when I found out it was actually both the drivers that told them, no, we're not pitting, we're staying out. So the mines are still there for the drivers to step on, that like 3-stop strategy as one of them. I'm glad they didn't step on them. Honourable mentions. Okay, we're now into honourable mentions, some that don't fit into particular categories. Next one comes from at MC Pickle, when someone else finally leads a race other than Verstappen. Yep, and it was my boy, Charles Leclerc, who was leading for what felt like a lap. I think it was slightly longer than that, but it wasn't for very long, was it? It wasn't long enough. However, we broke the streak, didn't we, Formula One fans? Verstappen did not lead every race. However, he did finish first in every session, practice, qualifying, sprint, race. How much longer do we have to endure this? Why are we celebrating a driver on an alternate strategy leading a race? Is this how far we've fallen as a sport? I think it might be. At Librarian Bert, Toto to Lewis, just drive. Wow. The way in which Toto came over the radio, he was quite short with Lewis, was he not? He was almost sick of hearing Lewis complaining about track limits and complaining that the car won't turn and all this sort of stuff, that Toto straight up just goes, we know the car is bad, just drive it. It was a do your job kind of moment, which we don't ever tend to hear. Do you remember Baku, when he was apologising for how bad the car was? There wasn't any of that. It was Toto getting a little bit impatient, which, I mean, fair enough. If a driver's constantly saying your car's bad, and he's the boss, but it's not something we tend to see. At Modestos 8, what gives Verstappen feelings of power? This was just taking the absolute Michael, wasn't it? End of the race, he doesn't have fastest lap, Perez does. I'm convinced, by the way, that if anyone else has fastest lap other than Perez, Verstappen doesn't stop. He doesn't need the point. He doesn't. He's 500,000 points ahead already. But because Perez, after that cheeky little move on him in the sprint, I guarantee he wanted to take everything away from his teammate. So he did. He pitted and came out 4 seconds clear of Leclerc. It became 2 because he was charging his battery, and then ended up 5. So as much as he is driving on 0% AI, if you just look at it on paper and you get your full delusion going, it's closing. The gap is closing. Yes, Verstappen did do a 3-stop and basically stopped to a halt to charge his battery. But 5 seconds, Ferrari are coming. Okay, Tommy, it is Tommy's Tasty Tweet time, and you're giving it the good old wave that we all love to see. Now, Tommy, who has won the amazing copy of F123? Of course, this segment is sponsored by those beautiful people over there. Of course, F123 out very recently. Who's won?
The winner is Crystal Horner, and it's an absolute banger, a well-worthy winner. It's banter about limit exceeded and the problems on Twitter at the moment, and also the drivers at Austria because they couldn't stay on the track.
They could not. Thank you so much. So eloquently described. What a beautiful man. Love that Ferrari gear on you. We'll see you very soon, Tommy. Bye. Right, thank you so much for watching the funniest tweets to the Austrian Grand Prix. I want to thank F123 for sponsoring Tommy's Tasty Tweet. The winner will be receiving an F123 copy on a console or whatever platform of their choice. So look forward to that. And we'll see you very soon for the British Grand Prix next weekend. We're going to be there, so no watch-alongs, but all the content that you can ever dream of will still be here. Don't worry. So we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye! So there I was, finishing my dinner, relaxing, turning off my brain for the day. And then the FIA decided to hand out a gargantuan amount of penalties. So I thought I'd just add this onto the video. There's no memes because we got to get the video out for all of you. However, 10-second penalty for Sainz, Hamilton, Gasly, Albon, Sargent. 30 seconds for Ocon. 30 seconds! Apparently he had 17 laps deleted out of a 71-lap race. The man's only completed 54 laps, according to that. We had 15 seconds for De Vries, 5 seconds for Tsunoda. That is a meme in itself. You don't need a tweet. Just look at the document. Just the document is enough to just show how Formula One is in the mud. But anyway, have a lovely, lovely evening. Goodbye.